This is the Quantum Leap podcast, and I'm Peter.
And I'm Mikey, the owl to his Sam, watching for the first time.
That's right. And today we are rewatching season one, episode seven, The Color of Truth. The leap date was August 8th, 1955. This episode was written by Deborah Pratt and directed by Michael. I think we're going with Vijar. My
Vijar.
apologies. I really tried looking. I couldn't find an interview on YouTube for the pronunciation, so my apologies if I mispronounced that. Um, but yeah, Mikey, first episode of 2026. That's gonna date this rewatch episode a little bit here. But let's start off with first impressions for The Color of Truth. What did you think of this episode?
I think this is the best episode we've watched so far.
All
Yeah,
right.
I loved it. It was a very serious episode, not too much comedy, little bits here and there, and not to keep bringing this back up, but 2 episodes ago we tried to do the same thing, sort of talking about, how women were in the 1950s, and we did a way better job this time than 2 episodes ago. Not to keep bringing up
Different
how the test
writer,
was won.
stronger writer.
Most definitely, yes. Yeah, I thought this episode was phenomenal. Yeah.
I was gonna totally joke that I was gonna say something like the leap date, August 8th, 2025,
Yeah, well, yeah. A
you
lot
know,
still a plot. Yep. Yep.
yep. This is still some of this stuff is still going on, sadly. I mentioned the writer Deborah Pratt. I did not know this was her episode until the first time I rewatched it for this review. I For this review, I watched it four times. In Because usually we try to bank these episodes. So inside baseball for those listening and tuning in at home, Mike and I try to bank some of these episodes so that way we always have something like every 2 weeks to drop. But again, with our job, we could not figure out a time to get this episode done. So the day we're recording this, we're dropping it like the same weekend, which is the first for us. And so I did get in about four watches, and it was the first time. The first watch is when I was like, "Oh, this is Deborah Pratt's episode," which makes a lot of sense because after watching it, uh, the first time. I was like, oh, like I wonder who the writer is. I wonder if it was like a white writer. Did they consult, like a person of color, an African American, whatever the case is. Because I'm like, well, Deborah Pratt, who's co-creator, she's like a part of this too. And I'm like, oh, she wrote it. Duh. Like that's just, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to say like, oh, it makes sense. I'm not trying to say anything like that. But she's a strong writer. Like between her and Donald People Osorio, I believe at this point they've done three episodes separately. So this is the second Deborah Pratt and the first and Donald uh DLP, no, DP. What did I call him in the previous episode? DPB. DPB?
Yeah,
Donald P.
DPB, yeah.
Belisario. Okay. So DPB he did the previous episode, Double Identity, and in the first Deborah Pratt episode, wait, did he do the pilot too? He might have done the pilot. I'm almost He probably did the pilot, so I guess two episodes. So they've both done two at this point. But the first Deborah Pratt episode was Star-Crossed, and
Okay.
which, yeah, strong
We love that
episode.
as
And
well. Yep.
yeah, and so their episodes are so lived in. The world that they build in these leaps are so lived in. There's these rich characters. There's dialogue that gives you like exposition. That and in some cases just like, oh, like it's not necessarily, oh, we didn't need to know that, but like, oh, that's interesting that we're picking up this little detail in just like little dialogue. Like just for example, I don't think we'll really get into it, but Miss Melanie, her talking about is it Patsy or Patty, the lady who owns the
Miss
diner,
Patty's. Yeah, Miss
Miss
Patty, yeah.
Patty's. Yeah, so there's like a talk about like her egg salad or whatever like does well. I don't know if it was actually the egg salad. It might have been like something
It
else,
was.
but okay,
You nailed
okay.
it. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So like something like that. I'm just like, wow, there's a whole ass story right there, that we're not even getting, but it's just like just a throwaway line, just like, oh, okay, wow. So Miss Patty, her egg salad seems to be bomb.com, or whatever. So, okay. So let's talk, actually, before we get into the detail. You know what? I didn't even share mine. Did you have anything else to add in terms of first impressions?
No, no, go ahead.
This is an episode that I remember fondly, for various reasons. One of which I cannot mention yet because it does spoil a future episode. Um, but again, this episode came out when I was 6 years old, and again, as a son of immigrant in the, I don't know, first grade, in a diverse school, I'm watching this episode. And I'm just like, whites only water fountain?
Yeah.
And they will not take this young black girl into a hospital because it's whites only. Like, that was foreign to me. It's still foreign to me. I'm
Yes.
glad we didn't live through that. What we're going through, different story. But yeah, I just I didn't know anybody that was prejudiced or racist at that age. So this was kind of like one of my early examples of seeing this on TV, and I still couldn't process that as a 6 year old, about the skin color stuff, being a brown person myself. And so this one always stuck with me for those reasons. I'm just like, I remember it being having like a very powerful message. I've mentioned in previous episodes that I also grew up on Full House, so a lot of like morals and like, good deeds and all of that stuff. I'm going through that stuff with my kids right now. We're watching Full House as a family, and they're picking up on like, oh, this is very familiar. Dad's trying to teach us this lesson and all of that. And so this one always stuck with me. It's not lost on me that it's very much like Driving Miss Melanie, which I did see according to Al's Place, and not just there, but like that's my main source. Shout out to Brian Green. Um, it did his website mentioned that Driving Miss Daisy came out a few months after this episode premiered, by months too, like 6 months. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, that watching this for this, I said, "Oh, this is like a Driving Miss Daisy inspired episode," but it
Right.
definitely was. It was not. I mean, I guess there was a play before that, but
Oh, okay.
so
Oh, all
maybe
right.
maybe
Well,
Deborah Pratt saw the play, but yeah,
could be. Yeah. And that was the other joke I was gonna drop. Like, oh, this place takes place in August 2025, and it's driving Miss Melody. So
yeah.
yeah. Um, all right. So if you can give us the synopsis for those that have not seen this in a hot minute, we can get into the episode.
I would love to. Sam leaps into Jesse Tyler, an aged black man living in the South prior to the Civil Rights Movement. Sam's modern day racial attitudes cause consternation and unrest amongst the townsfolk, leading to brutal consequences. And while Sam's true mission is to save the life of his elderly white employer, Ms. Melanie Trafford, Sam also believes he is sent to initiate the cause of civil rights in the town. Sorry, that was a little bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, you nailed all the hot points just in case we skip over anything. Um I what from your first impressions, what surprised me, I I feel like this is an episode that Quantum Leap fans do like. And I was a little surprised to say that you say that you loved it and that this was the best episode thus far. I wanted to kind of get into just a little bit of that without you kind of like showing your hand too much of, what we're going to be discussing. But what were kind of some of the things that really stood out for you this episode that made you feel this is the best one that we're reviewing so far?
I think I just felt like Sam was actually doing something very meaningful. Like perhaps,
Okay.
um, I mean, a lot of times he's, trying to get two people together. That's been a plot of a few episodes. But this one, he was trying to put his 1989-ish views, I believe, into 1955, and I don't know. I think it's just also the I don't know if I want to say this right. I think I always like uh for how do I say this? I'll never understand what it's like to be a black person, is what I'm trying to say. And
Right.
the idea of this episode is a white person is inside a black person, um,
Yeah. Wearing the shoes of a black man.
wearing the shoes of a black man, and so that's interesting to me. He can feel what it's like,
Right.
and it's
I
right from the
love
beginning of the episode. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
love Sam's reaction. No, no, no. You saying that it made me think of like Sam's reaction when Al pops up in the cemetery. He's like black. He literally says that
Yes,
like verbatim. He's like, I'm black. And
I'm
so,
black. Think of all the
yeah,
possibilities, and I'm like, oh,
right.
okay, yeah.
Well, you mentioning that line, how did you take that? Because like the on the first rewatch, I'm like, well, of course the quote unquote possibilities, but like at no point would I had ever thought, well, are you only going to be like limited to Caucasians? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so
I,
I thought that was interesting, but then I kind of thought about it more. I feel I feel maybe it was the some sort of execution, but I feel the message might have been like the well, the possibilities of what I can do, in the shoes of like other people, like a black man. I feel that might have been what Sam meant. Not necessarily like if I can leap into a black man, what else? You know what I mean? I
y-
don't think it was that.
right. Yeah, no, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I think he was just thinking about the different possibilities of who and what and where he could leap into. So,
Right, absolutely. In 1955, not too far from Selma, we learned from Al. Okay, let's where do you want to start? Oh, actually, let's start from the beginning. When you're watching this, you knew w- you mentioned in the previous episode, this is the first time that we saw the reflection in the teaser of the end of the previous episode. So you knew that going in, Sam's the black man. And so tell me, like, what were your thoughts in that very first sequence? Sam walks in, and he's like, "Well, I'm hungry. Maybe I'll just take a bite to eat." Sits down and then realizes he's black. So we got a little bit more than what the teaser actually gave us in the previous episode.
right. So actually, the teaser and then this was a different leap because when he in the teaser he leaps right when he's sitting at the counter already, and then in this episode he leaps into while he was walking in, which is interesting. But
Yeah, it was just
yeah,
cut differently. Yeah,
yeah, and then even from the teaser, I didn't get a real big sense of the time or what was happening, and um, but yeah, and I guess I maybe because I'm not racist, I didn't really. He sat down at the counter, and everyone went. There was this hush, and I'm like, okay, what am I missing here? And it didn't even dawn on me that what was happening, and then I got it. But yeah, that was my first impression. Like I just yeah. Um,
yeah. You could hear a needle drop in that diner, and
yes.
even Sam's just like, what is going on? Then he sees a reflection, yeah, that he's a black man. And then there's like those, I'm kind of forgetting their names, like Billy
Toad
Joe.
and
What,
Toad and sorry, I have it. I'll tell you in a
yeah,
minute.
Toad was definitely a name because I was just thinking like, oh, kind of like an X-Men. That's just what I was thinking. But
Yes.
I I should have it up in here as well. It's like I know it's a two name. It's like Billy,
To
like
Toad and oh
Billy Joe,
man.
Billy Joe.
Billy
It is
Joe
Billy
Bob.
Joe. Yep.
Yeah.
It Billy Joe Bob. Are you sure?
I don't know, that's what it says on IMDb, but go with Billy Joe. Yeah, I have
It could
Billy
be
Joe in my
Billy Joe
notes.
Bob.
He's the sheriff's son. Yeah, Billy Joe.
Right, right.
It's a very
Which Sam
southern,
doesn't. Yeah, Sam
yes.
doesn't know that until a little bit later, and I like that little reveal too. See, like
Yes.
again, I think a lesser writer. I don't know. I feel like a lesser writer like that sequence may not hit as hard, and the way like Sam reacts to he's like I just came to the sheriff thinking that like, hey, I can tell him these things and he's gonna help out. And unbeknownst to him, like, great, one of them is his kid, his own son. So, but okay, so the diner scene, so Sam was gonna sit down and eat, but then Miss Patty basically rescues him. She's like, hey, like you're just here to like pick up food for Miss Melanie, right? Like I'm not gonna clean up any blood, which has that happened before? you know.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what
but
I was
it's just
wondering.
it's kind of like the way she says it to him, right? She's like, now I don't want to be cleaning up any blood now, do I, Jesse? Like something like that. It was like the way she said it. It almost made me think that he been roughhoused before in there, for just going in to
Or
go pick
someone
up sandwich
else.
or someone else, absolutely. And
Yeah.
so any thoughts at all about Miss Patty?
Um, no, she just seems like a very down to earth person that doesn't really seem to care about all this racist crap. Just kind of,
I don't yeah, I
wants to
don't think
keep the
it bothers
peace.
her as much, but also it's like, well, she knows why Jesse's there and he's not a patron, so it doesn't concern her as much. It's just like, well, he's the help, right?
Yeah.
That's the way they look at that. The blacks are the help, especially for somebody like a Miss Melanie who still has, you know, black people that serve her. Or at least,
Yes.
it's just down to Jesse now. We find out a little bit more a little bit later.
Yeah.
Um, on Al's place, I'm not sure where Brian got this question because there's like kind of like there's this like little section of like questions or things that point out like kind of mistakes, but you're also talking about like an 89, so production is a little bit different, obviously very little um special effects as like the mirroring type stuff, like that's always going to be a little whatever. And so I
Yeah.
know some people be like, well, like this wasn't quite in sync. Well, but we know how they're doing it, so that's not going to be like 100% perfect. But one of the things that it mentions is that how did Sam, like when he walked outside, how did he know that was Miss Melanie that was basically flagging him down? But but the dialogue, it's all there. Like Miss Patty says, like, you're just picking up Miss Melanie's lunch, aren't you? Right. So he
Yeah.
goes out and Sam is actually narrating the scene. He's like, oh, maybe I'm here to help that little old lady cross the street, or maybe like
Yeah.
help get her cat out of the tree as she's like waving him down, calling him Jesse. So like
Yeah.
that's the answer right there. Um, but we meet Miss Patty, we meet Toad, Billy Joe, and I think that's kind of it for that moment. So, thoughts on the Miss Melanie when we meet her?
Um, when we first meet her, I wasn't sure about her. She's very uh bossy. I mean, I guess he Jesse's technically employed for her, but she's a Southern woman with that accent, and yeah, I wasn't sure. As we go on, I actually really like the relationship that the two of them have, so and we can talk about
I
that
did
later,
too.
but yeah.
We keep talking about some of these people, and I keep forgetting to go over the names. But off the bat, anybody in this episode you recognize from anything else?
No, no. So may perhaps the sheriff is Royce D. Applegate.
Kate?
Yeah, and he's been in tons of things that I know I've seen, so but I don't specifically remember a certain thing that I know him from. But yeah.
I thought that you were gonna drop that he was related to like Christina Applegate or something.
I was wondering the same thing. I didn't check actually, but
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't recognize anybody else really. However, I did. I guess I mentioned this in Genesis, where one of the actors in that episode comes back again in a different leap as a different character. Um, I did recognize Jesse Tyler is who Sam leaps into. I didn't mention that. Jesse Tyler is played by Howard Matthew Johnson, but it was the character of his son who is played by Michael D. Roberts, Willis Tyler. That actor I did recognize in a future episode of Quantum Leap as well.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's really yeah, I knew him from because I was watching the episode on the first rewatch, and I'm like, wait a minute, isn't he that one episode? And then, reading on Al's Place, sure enough, it is that same actor. And so, yeah, they try to keep the seasons separate, so that way, maybe we don't remember, and it just might be one of those things like, hey, we like this actor, we're gonna bring them back for future episodes. Um, so we do see that actor again later on, but nobody else in this episode, I recognized. We have you mentioned Royce Applegate as Sheriff Blount. We'll just refer to him as the sheriff. Jane Abbott plays Miss Patty. She might come up again, maybe. Miss Melanie is Melanie, but they call her Melanie, is played by Susan French. James Ingersoll plays her son Clayton. Let's see, anybody else worth mentioning? Let's go with Michael Kruger, who plays Billy Joe Bob Blount. That's a mouthful. So that is listed here as well. And Michael D. Roberts, no, already read that.
Why would you do that to
Toad,
your
Jeff
son?
Tyler. Jeff Tyler.
Yeah.
Sorry?
I said, why would you do that to your son, Billy Joe Bob Blunt? Why would you?
Blount. I mean,
A
it's a
horrible
character for
thing.
for one, but yes. Why
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
why
Yeah.
is that? Why does he have three first names before the last name? Like it's supposed to be
I,
like three first names after your whole name, but
yeah. Yeah.
you know,
I don't know.
we're not gonna
Sure.
judge too harshly on these
Yes.
characters. I think that's pretty much it for the guest actors though. But okay, so yeah, where do you want to start? What's your first note?
So I found it interesting because Sam always has the problem where he leaps into somewhere he doesn't know where he needs to go, and he's supposed to drive Miss Melanie to the cemetery. First of all, he has to figure out where he's going because Miss Melanie's just assuming he knows where to go. And so then she has to give him directions, and he uses the excuse that he bumped his head. Which, hey, I kind of feel like that's an interesting thing to see episode by episode. How is he gonna start figuring out where he needs to go? But yeah, and then they
In 3 more months in their universe, somebody else is gonna bump their head while standing on a porcelain
definitely true and
yeah,
come up with a
toilet.
very
Yeah.
important concept. Yeah,
So I can understand, the being concussed, I guess, for hitting his
yes.
head or something. Um
Um,
Just real quick, the Back to the
yeah.
Future moments or whatever. This is going to be an inverse where I do wonder if this episode might have inspired future sequels, because some of these things, yeah, there's a couple of things in here that happened in this episode, which is, in 1989, that made me think of Back to the Future 3, at least two instances.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm not sure about that. Okay.
Well, I mentioned one, Miss Melanie's son, Clayton,
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I
Clara
gotcha. I
Clayton.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, yep. I gotcha. Okay.
So there's one. Yep.
So they go to the cemetery and they're visiting Miss Melanie's husband, who we
Charles.
find out Charles, that we find out they were married for 50 years and he passed away. And we find out that Miss Melanie lost a child, and then she starts talking to Jesse and talking about how Jesse lost his wife and how they lost four children.
Four, yeah, four.
Yeah. Um, and so like at that point, you kind of start getting like the sense of their friendship, I believe. Like even though he works for and um you become friends with people you work with. Um, and
Yeah,
then go
let's
ahead.
talk a little bit that relationship. So Ms. Milne is the widow of the former mayor, right? Because he's passed away, right?
Governor,
So he
governor of
governor. Okay,
Alabama.
so
Yes.
he just be governor of the state, and so high ranking. And it sounds like, according to Ms. Milne, that Charles also liked Jesse's wife, Sally.
Yes.
So. so that family, at least, Miss Melanie and Charles seem to be fond of Jesse and Sally. And where the hell did Clayton go wrong? Right.
Yes.
So it's definitely not nurture. That's nature right there. That's his surroundings. That's being in Bama
Yes. Yes. Yes,
uh i-
definitely.
at that time.
Yes.
And so I thought that was interesting. That was obviously some details that like I wasn't privy to at that young of an age, and now processing it as an adult, I'm like, oh, okay. That's how she, had some of this pull, widow of the governor. So, somebody in high places and have a good enough heart, right? But she's just kind of like, old fashioned and like this is what it is. This is how we do things, and like who am I to change? But hey, change can start with somebody higher up. Like people just need to see it.
You definitely get a sense of that when is talking about Sally when she says, "Oh yeah, Charles said she was the finest Negro woman in all of, and Sam winces, it's because it's not a term that's used in the 80s or today or shouldn't be. But yeah, so
It
y-
was. It was. I mean, I'm forgetting when Bad News Bears came out. That was like late 70s, and like holy cow, some of the racial slurs in that one, and they're hitting
true.
like all the brown people, the minorities rather. Uh, and so you actually had messaged me
Oh,
about we'll get
we've
there. Okay, we'll save it.
I mean, well,
We'll save.
I don't even think I wrote down the instances because I just didn't. But yeah, we go full on N-word, and I was like, I didn't know we were going there. Okay. Um,
And I had forgotten about that. And so tipping my hand on making me do research, I did look it up. And so the N word was never uh not necessarily like censored per se, but it really stopped being used like in the early 90s. And
okay.
so it was still being used in TV shows between the 50s through the 70s. And you know, uh, as time went on, NAACP and all these stuff, FCC started changing things, and even like that was even for the FCC, like between 50 and 70, that wasn't even like really a concern. They were more concerned with words like pregnant and Elvis's dancing. That was more of the censorship that they were focusing on. Yeah, this is stuff I looked up, and I'm just like, oh, interesting.
What an insane thing, but okay.
Examples, for what's that have to see. Also a little timely for us to be reviewing this episode and talking about the FCC. Um, but yes, it was still being used. And I think there was another example. They said like even in episodes of Blackish where that word would be used, there it's bleep. You know,
Okay.
um, yeah. So it's like one of those gray areas. Is
Yeah.
it censored? No, but it's not being used for the most part, right? In on television nowadays. So, but yeah, I thought that was really interesting, but shocking. Yes, because I didn't expect it, but I'm thinking, Sam, to change somebody, sometimes you got to speak somebody's language figuratively, and unfortunately in this sense, it was also literally, you know. Yeah, and
Yes.
and and we got the sense from Miss Melanie by her reaction that that word also offends her. So there's a little bit of I'm not. Please correct me if I'm misusing this, but there's a little white guilt there. Like when she hears that word.
No, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she says she doesn't use that word and yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she and
Um,
like her reaction and like giving like it's giving me chills just thinking about it because I was just like, hey, good for you. Like
yeah.
that's not nothing. That's not nothing.
Yes.
Like even that word disgusts her. So. And again, older white lady, widow of a governor in Alabama. Hey,
Yeah.
that's that's not bad, but what went wrong with your son? I know she's got like comments about him that are like really funny too. Like I love a little sassy Miss Melody, not gonna lie.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Um, so but still at the cemetery, Al shows up and tells Sam that his mission has nothing to do with any civil rights movement or anything. Um, that he just needs to stop Miss Melanie from being at the train crossing at 5:18 p.m. Ziggy is 86.7 certain this is what he's there to do to save Miss Melanie. And Melanie and I might have said Melanie. Um
It is Melody, but it's in
is
quotations
that
like
like the
Miss Melody.
Southern Melanie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Like on like Al's place and all this stuff. It's Miz for Ms. and then Melody Melny, but her name is Melanie.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Uh so by the way, Ziggy's wrong again, but like I think for like the third or fourth episode in the road, I don't know what's in a row.
Well, we got to really be careful. We don't want her getting, smushed by the choo-choo. I mean, a
Yes.
DeLorean has been smushed by a choo-choo, several decades from now, in their time. So I totally get it. There's your other
Okay.
reference.
Yep, I got it. I got it. I got it. That's pretty cool. Um, and then but we also learn that Al was involved in the civil rights movement, which was really cool to hear. And he talks
What did
about
you what did you think about his line? Some of my best friends are black, or
yeah,
like a
yeah,
variation of it.
yeah, he did say that. Yeah.
I
It,
did not realize that was a thing back in the late 80s. Like, I can't- because the way like Sam's like, I can't believe you'd say that. I'm just like, but I guess what's funny to me is because I have a friend. I have I have
oh,
black
do
friends,
you?
okay, but yeah,
Oh,
but
wow.
one of my old podcast, my co-host is black, and he is one of those guys that says things that will make you just face palm, just be like, what are you doing? And there's times where we'll have a guest and he'll make like an Asian joke and they'll have like a reaction. He'll be like, it's totally okay. Peter's my best friend. He's Asian. But that's just his personality. He plays a character behind the mic. He's totally not like that. Total big teddy bear, but yeah, some of the stuff he would say would just kind of get people like, dude, what are you doing? Like how do I react to that? But that's just a character. So it made me think of that, because like if I'm not on a podcast and he references me, he's like, "Well, what do you guys know? Like, Peter's one of one of two of my Asian friends." It's like little things like that. He always plays up on that joke. And so like that's funny to me. But also, I think I mentioned it before on this podcast. I cover Twist Metal Companion, and there is a literal scene where there's like a scientist that he turned a black man into a vehicle. And but in the sequence, there's two black characters in the sequence, right? And the scientist it basically is threatening them with a weapon, and and the main character is like, you turn us into vehicles. He's like, wait, no, is that how it comes off? No, I'm a racist. And but then he dies, and then his final words, some of my best friends are black. And so it also took me back to that because that scene
Fair
was so
enough.
funny. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So like that it's always kind of been a joke to me. So to hear Sam react that way when Al said that, I go, "Oh, was that something people said that offended people?" So that's why I bring all this up because like to me it was like it was always a joke for I would only usually hear it for minorities.
Yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, I didn't think about that, but yeah, maybe that was what we were saying in the 80s too, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do you why do you think why do you think Sam reacted the way he did? Like it's like did I do you think I misread that? Like it seemed that it made Sam uncomfortable and I'm not sure why. So this is my naivete showing here. I'm not sure why Sam would have been offended for Al saying something like that. Because
Um,
like before that he was just saying like, well, yeah, protest and I got arrested or whatever the case is.
I guess because I'm gonna assume because when you say that it's kind of with the assumption in that statement that you know what it's like to be black when you say, "Hey, my best friend's
Okay,
black."
okay, that's fair
So, yeah. Um
because I felt like it was like a thing somebody would say that like okay, so I totally get what you're saying there. I never thought of it that way. I thought it was always like a common response when like somebody says something like off color, kind of pun intended, but not, not necessarily that they're like, well, dude, you can't say that. It's like, why not? Like I have, you know, I have the right to because like I have black friends. It's totally okay. Like they're okay with me saying that. But usually it's like something low key racist. But Al didn't say anything racist, in my opinion. Like it was just, he was just in the thick of things going on in that region. And so I thought Sam's response, I didn't feel like it was really met with like what Al was saying prior to that. Does that make sense?
yes, yeah, I get what you're saying, and yeah, because yeah, he didn't really say anything off color or anything, but yeah,
Right.
but yeah, that's how what I said is kind of how I took it
Okay.
is, but I don't.
That makes the most sense though, like how could you know? And I was being honest, like no, like some of my friends are black, like and but I don't think Al was trying to say he knows what it felt, but he was just sharing his some of his experiences. So I thought
Right.
Sam's mention on that, I thought that was a little, I don't know if it was like I don't want to say misplaced, but Sam's reaction, I was just like, huh, why did Sam react that way? That's kind of what I was wondering.
Right. Um, well, and then Al talks about that he believes that he says Authorine Ruth lives around here and she would integrated University of Alabama. Um, so I actually looked that up and there was a woman, I'm assuming this is who they're referring to, Authorine Lucy Foster. Um, she applied to the University of Alabama in 1952. She was denied. Then it went to a court, and then they told Alabama they had to let her in. She attended classes for 3 days. There were riots and death threats, and then the university dismissed her somehow and told her she had to leave. And then there wasn't another black student until 1963, which is crazy. But
Wow.
and so they ended up naming the College of Education at the University of Alabama. They renamed it from Bibb Graves Hall to Authorine Lucy Foster Hall. So, yeah. So,
Proper
which I
way
found
to
interesting.
rename buildings.
Yeah, well, so there was actually a fight. They wanted it to name Gibbs Foster or Graves Foster Hall to include the racist governor, I believe. It was a whole thing. But yeah, but
I
now
bet
it's
it is.
Foster Hall. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I found that interesting. Kind of referring to something that's
Going on now.
almost happened. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, so.
Going on, not almost. Um, but okay. A lot is going on in the sequence. There was another moment that made me cringe a little bit too. But knowing that Deborah Pratt wrote this, I feel a little bit better about this. But it's when I forgot what it was, but it was Al's response of like, it'll make your hair curl. No pun intended. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah, I do
you know,
remember that, but I didn't write that down. But now that you say it, I do. I didn't even think about it, but now that you're saying it, okay, yeah,
yeah. Now that that is something Sam should have been. Okay, maybe it was misplaced, but maybe that's when Sam should have been like, wow, how could you say that? And then yeah, I guess in my mind, that's when like in my mind that would be appropriate for Al to be like, well, but that's that exact example of like what you're not supposed to do in that sense. So
yes, um, yeah.
it's a little difficult to talk about, like I mentioned, like closing up the previous episode, I'm like, hey, th this episode can make some people uncomfortable. Um, but it's yeah, it's these little things because I'm thinking, okay, well, the writing is doing a really good job of not making Al come off like any type of way. Like he was in the thick of all the things going on, um having friends that are activists and you know uh s- the civil rights and movement and all of that. So you do get the sense of like, okay, so Al's done some living like pre-military, you know,
Yeah.
and so it just adds a little character. But also on that same topic, like another thing that kind of made me cringe was jumping ahead a little bit when Al talks about how like Miss Melanie like heard him. He's like, just think about like, other
Yeah.
women that I could talk to, like young ones. I'm like, Al, where are we going with this? Don't.
You're ruining it, Al. I
Yeah,
gained
yeah,
all this respect for you earlier in the episode, but yeah, yeah, yeah.
right. Al's gonna
Not that I
Al, but
disrespected you, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and I'm just glad that there's no like actual. I mean, look, Miss Melanie is what 85, something like that. Younger, 60. Hey, but there you go, right? Like 60-year
Sure.
old. That's probably what I was talking about. But at least as of right now, I don't recall ever a moment of like Sam or Al being like super problematic. There's just the stuff we saw in like how the test was won and stuff where we're just like, wait, what's going on? So there's nothing like
Yeah.
lingering. It's just the times, right?
Yes. Um,
Uh, and just real quick before I do forget, my apologies. We're in the cemetery. They visit weekly, right? The
I believe
grass
so.
isn't,
Yes. Yeah, every
yeah,
Saturday, I believe. Yes.
yeah, the tombstone isn't really well kept and stuff like that. So it made me question a few things. It's like number one, do they visit weekly? Because like how fast is like the weeds and stuff growing? And
Those are
and
some
if
hell of
they
a weeds.
do, yeah, and maybe they do grow and maybe they do visit weekly, but also it sounds like what is their last names? Charles and
The
Ms. Melanie
Traffords.
Traffords. Okay. And so it made me wonder n- I I would use the term loosely, but maybe they were a little progressive, because they were fond of the Tylers, that kind of thing. I do wonder if like some circles in the town know that, and maybe they're like, yeah, screw that tombstone, like
Yeah,
they're
that's
they're fond of
possible.
they're fond of the black folks, and so like I was just kind of wondering. I don't know if you had any thoughts at all about that, but yeah, just upon rewatch, I'm just like, oh, that's interesting, because like it's not even kept and it's just kind of in a regular cemetery, which I'm sure in some cases they are.
Yeah. I don't. I'm not sure. I don't know. I guess I just thought the weeds grew quickly. I don't know. I didn't really take look into much of that, but like, so the next scene after this, we arrive at Miss Melanie's house, and Clayton, her son, screw that guy, um, shows up and confronts Jesse, um, about sitting at Miss Patty's lunch counter, uses the N word, saying, have you been talking to
A
those
number of
northern?
times.
Yeah, yes. And I did kind of like that Sam kind of like stood up for himself,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah,
yeah, and
made him
then
flinch a little bit.
yes, and then also like going with the how much we like Ms. Melanie, she stood up to Clayton and said, um, don't talk to Jesse that way, that's none of your business, and Clay because Clayton's trying to tell her, you need to get rid of this guy, and so in that way, she's kind of standing up for Jesse at that point. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it says a lot about Clayton as well for him to be like, "Yeah, I'm just here to talk to Jesse. Hey, Jesse, why don't we go over here?" He knows he's a racist, and
Yes.
and he knows that his parents were fond of the Tylers, and so he doesn't want to undress Jesse in front of Miss Melody. And so I'll just And that's not something I kind of remember. I remembered him being a racist, but I didn't remember that, yeah, he didn't want to concern her in this quote unquote matter, you know, the townsfolk were talking or whatever. Um, I I kind of misremember, but I thought that he was in it a little bit more. Like I felt like he was a little bit more part of the storyline. I guess I kind of misremembered that he was in on it with the guys, and there might have been like a little more incidents, but not necessarily. I think there's just like maybe two scenes with him or something.
Okay. Yeah, I think we only see him at her house, correct? I believe
You're
so.
probably right because he does come back for like supper. And if unless that scene didn't happen, they only just talked about it.
Yeah. Um, Something like that. We'll tell you
But but
soon.
but I do that. I do like that flinch because Clayton says something. Okay, because he tells Jesse, who is Sam, tells him or brings up that he went to go sit down at Miss Patty's diner, and Sam's like, well, I was hungry, and he goes, oh, do you kind of remember what he says? He's like, you better not be
He
hungry
says, "Have you?" I
or
think he said, "Have you lost your mind? Have you been talking to one of those northern N
right,
words?"
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was something else, and because he also
Okay.
calls Sam boy, and
Oh.
that's when Sam gets like the jade that he put in the vase, and kind of like almost aggressively like leans in, and then but he like dials it back a little bit and just continues on back into the living room. So I thought that was really well done too. It made me think like, oh, that yeah, his butthole must have puckered up a little bit.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
My
Yeah.
favorite kind of song. Yeah,
He was definitely a little afraid.
yeah.
Um, so and then we meet Jesse's granddaughter, correct? Nell.
Nell,
Um,
uh-huh.
by the way, she's super excited because Grandpa Jesse is sat at this lunch counter. And it's the talk of the town. And so Jesse goes home with her, and we meet his family, and we meet the Reverend
Willis Tyler,
Willis.
but
Okay, yeah, Willis Tyler, yeah. Um, and yeah. Apparently, Jesse had promised to make chitlins, which I've never had.
and I buy
Um, yeah, and collard greens and cornbread, which I have had those. Um,
same.
yeah. For a church picnic, I guess for the Reverend's church picnic. And Al pops in, and we learn that Al loves chitlins, super excited about this. Um, and he starts to, well, yeah, the rest of the family, because Sam is, his stomach is not turning towards he's not a fan of the
Because of the
chitlins.
smell. Yeah, the smell, right?
Yes.
He's saying that it smells like something from like biology class
Yeah, he did.
or some.
Yeah.
So it was something like that. Chitlins, real quick. I've never avoided them. I've never been around it. Even when I served in the military, like I've never been exposed to chitlins because I've always been curious ever since the movie Friday came out in
Hmm.
1955 or 1995 rather. And there's a whole sequence, of like Ice Cube's father in that movie. He's just like, I love chitlins, I love pig's feet, like that whole. So I was like, oh, chitlins, okay, okay. And then like and it wasn't for the rewatch, but like several years ago when I was just happened to be watching The Color of Truth, and that came up, I was just like, oh, there's another reference to chitlins, and I still never had this. But I'm open to trying anything, and that's something that I'm not saying it's on my bucket list, but if the moment presents itself, like I'll give it a try. I mean, it made me think like, I like I'm Asian. I go to dim sum and I eat chicken's feet, like chicken feet, and people, a lot of my friends, they're kind of grossed out by it. I'm just like, well, I also like ate it as a kid, so like to me, it was just normal, you know?
Just what you
And
ate,
so
yeah.
that's just what I ate. So like these delicacies, like I'm open to anything, like I think another delicacy that people are kind of grossed out by is balut, like little duck eggs or quail eggs with the little fetus
Oh,
on the
okay.
inside. Yeah, like a lot of Asian cultures, have that. And for those. I know Mikey, like your face is definitely everyone's face when I mentioned that. But
Sorry.
it no, like the juice on the inside, once you crack that egg, it tastes almost like chicken noodle soup.
Oh,
Like you
okay.
just don't look at the fetus, you might have a little dip, put a little seasoning on it, but that little duck or chicken or whatever egg you have with the yellow egg on the inside is really good. Just don't eat the
Hmm.
hard white part because it's like really rubbery. But my 5-year old could not do the regular size egg, so we got him like quail ones that he could do.
Oh,
So I can understand, yeah, like just don't look at it. But you can't feel any of the textures that people I think is making them like reluctant to trying. You know, the beak, stuff like that. You don't feel that when you're chewing.
okay. Fair enough.
So talking
Uh,
about food there.
yeah, I used to work at a place that had predominantly black employees, and we were
Uh-huh.
having a holiday party, and there was chitlins there, and I
Oh,
smelled them, and I was like, nah, I'm good. No, thank you.
yeah, I think maybe even like Sam or Al mentioned it, like maybe like it tastes better than it actually smells, and there's
It's
definitely
possible. I just didn't try it, but
right. It
the
it
color
makes
greens and cornbread were fantastic. So, you know.
do you remember like the food host Andrew Zimmer? He had that
Uh,
show like Bizarre Foods.
I've heard of the show, but I don't know who that is.
Yeah, he travels the world and eats like everything, tries anything, fried tarantula on a stick, whatever. But like one of the few things that he cannot stomach is a fruit called durian.
Okay.
Yeah, very smelly, but very but it tastes good. It
Okay.
stings and it can stink up a whole room. But it's
I
a
have
it's
heard
a
of that
big
fruit. I don't know why, but
yeah,
yeah.
big spiky shell, but once you crack it open, like the inside, like the inside the membrane, it's a little um a little what's the term? Kind of gooey or whatever, but once you kind of get to like the thicker parts, it is actually very tasteful. But anyway, some tangents there. The Tylers, we were kind of talking about it. Let's loop in Nell's introduction because there's a few things there, but also Willis, his son, who I guess is maybe the father of Nell. I
I guess. Yeah, not entirely
well,
sure.
granddaughter. Gosh, well, so maybe
Was
yeah,
was
maybe
was
the four that he lost might have been like Willis's like siblings. Maybe that's
Yeah, okay, so that I was
that
just
would make
looking. I was
sense.
like, wait, is Jesse his dad? But yeah, his name is Willis Tyler, and then her name is
Well,
Nell Tyler, so
yeah. Well, Willis calls him Pop or Daddy. After the chat, that's like because we'll
Papa
we'll we'll talk
Jesse.
about it, but yeah, he calls him Papa Jesse. But at the very end, he sips the broth, and it's like needs a little salt. Or
Right.
at some point, refers to him as Daddy. I'm almost certain of that.
Okay,
But
yeah, that did happen. You're right. Yes.
yeah, with Nell, I love how when she first pops up, Sam's like, I don't know who this person is, right?
Yeah.
And she immediately is like, oh, that lady, she's not gonna keep you later. So when he goes back to Miss Melanie, she was like, "Oh, is that, your granddaughter basically coming to get you?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I guess so." So like he's kind of like in the middle of these two, and they're kind of giving us like the exposition. Okay, so Nell picks him up. She has these opinions of Miss Melanie. Miss Melanie knows that Nell comes to pick him up, and so Sam's like in the middle, not knowing this but learning through exposition. So I love the writing in that.
Yes. And Nell is kind of the younger, more progressive daughter character, and the Reverend Willis is kind of the more we find out kind of more safer, doesn't want to cause any trouble. I think he has the line, these rednecks were just taught this way. You can't change them. And he's worried about his family's safety, rightfully so.
Yes,
So,
100%. Like that stern talking to, that's a son looking out for his father, his elderly father, right? Like we don't know how much longer we got with you, and if I can do anything to keep you safe, I'm gonna do it. So that's what that talking was, and I love how like he, I guess, lack of a better phrasing, like he puts his guard down and then like talks to him all normal, sips that broth, needs a little salt, daddy, like something like that, and I'm just like, see, so I love the total shift in his tone in talking to Jesse. And again, that just kind of makes the Tylers feel a little bit more like real people.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Um, I don't know if anything. I mean, Al is helping Sam cook. Um, I guess Al has a
Sam
recipe of
Cooke.
his own.
Sam
Oh,
Cooke is a singer.
yeah. Al has yeah. Um, Al has his own recipe for chitlins, and he's trying to teach Sam. Um, and yeah, I don't know if you had any more else for that scene. Right after that, we you're
No, I,
thinking.
I can't say anything that I don't think there's anything else there except for that this is another example, as part of our games at the end that Willis saw Sam talking to himself.
Yes, definitely. Um, and then we hear a scream, and Nell is upset, and that's because pretty much, even though they're not dressed in their white hoods, the Ku Klux Klan has showed up with their burning cross in their front yard. Uh, and it's Billy, Joe, Bob, and Toad, who are just stand. They're very proud about standing there late in that, and yeah. So I don't know.
So again, my naivete is showing. I know, excuse me, I know that's a thing, and I guess you just kind of gave me maybe more of a confirmation, but that's clan related. That's something specific to clans, not just like racist people, but I guess they're, if you want to lump them in together.
I
Um,
I, I
I just
believe just the
never,
Klan did that, but go ahead.
I just never really quite understood the, I don't want to say significance because that feels almost like I don't feel like that's the right word, but like what what does that
The symbolism.
symbolize? Yeah.
Yeah, the symbolism of why we're burning a cross, I don't know per se. Um, but yeah, that's definitely I don't know if it's specific to the Ku Klux Klan, but that's definitely what the Klan would do. Um,
Again, this is kind of like one of my first examples as a child, like burning crosses. Like this clearly means something for the Tylers to react this way. Sam is in on it. He knows that this is a bad, and um like any other times I have really seen this is actually like through film and TV, so I never really understood. I didn't look into it because it's, you know what I mean? Like I'm just
right.
like, okay, burning crosses is supposed to be bad. I just never really understood the symbolism of that.
It through a very quick Google search, which is not a good thing to do. It just says that it's just a symbol of intimidation and terror. I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know why white supremacist Christian ideology, but why are you burning a cross? Because if you're a Christian, why would you burn your cross? I don't know.
That
Yeah,
that was going to
yeah,
be my question. I was
right,
literally going to ask you that because like,
yeah.
but I also didn't want to get into the discussion about like the clan. Are they religious? Like I didn't want to get into any of that stuff. Um, yeah.
I've never been to a Klan meeting, so I don't really know. Uh,
The one I seen that comes to mind is Bad Boy 2. I think it's Bad Boys 2 has a sequence in the beginning, I believe it is, where Martin Lawrence and Will Smith like pop up out of somewhere, and there's like this, dead silence, and then Martin Lawrence has the line like, he's trying to like be them. He's like, "Oh my gosh, it's the N-word," but he says it kind of like how Miss Melanie says it.
okay.
That version of it, yeah. And so
Yes.
I don't hear that version of it often. Quantum Leap. and Bad Boys 2. But yeah, there's a Klans like scene, and Michael Shannon was a Klansman in that sequence in Bad Boys 2.
Um, I was gonna finish that sentence, but I have received a flyer to attend a clan meeting. But anyways, yeah,
You're just gonna
yeah,
mention
yeah. They sometimes they just
they may
appear.
they may they're there, huh? Okay,
Yeah,
interesting.
lovely. It was for people in Ohio though, for fair enough, to be fair.
It did. You say not today, Satan. That's or ever.
So by the and also by the way, have you ever seen Black Klansman, Spike Lee?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course. Yep.
excellent movie. Love that
Yes, it
movie.
is.
Um, but I was gonna say, I guess we just weren't showing the Klan on TV. I guess we didn't want to go that far or write that far, or maybe the original part of the script it had them as members of the Ku Klux Klan. I don't know
No,
the Ku Klux
who
Klan rules. I don't know.
who knows? We're only in
Yeah,
episode 7 of 97.
yeah. Can't. Yeah. Hopefully, this is the last time we see the Ku Klux Klan. I'm really hoping. Yeah. Okay. Great. You know. But I forget what happened after this now. What? Hold on, sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, we definitely cut to like a dramatic, commercial break, obviously, because of
Right.
of 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 that. Yes. I don't remember what we come back from, but
I got you. Hold
does he
on.
go see the
Oh,
sheriff?
he's going to see the sheriff. Oh, by the way, before that, I do want to say when they're in the kitchen talking to each other, and Al's there, and the son, Reverend, um, Willis.
Willis.
He's
Would you talk about Willis? That's how I
yes,
remember.
thank you, thank you. My memory's horrible. Don't turn 40 people. His his he mentioned sitting at the lunch counter, and Al was all upset, like, because he said to Sam, don't get involved with the civil rights movement, but like he kind of did that by accident. He didn't do that on purpose. So like he didn't
He
know.
says it. He's like, I didn't
Yeah,
know I was black, but also you didn't realize you were in a whites only diner. How about that?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up. It was interesting, but yeah. So he does go to the sheriff. The sheriff, he says to the sheriff, it was Billy Joe and Toad. Um, and the sheriff says, okay, yeah, I'll talk to them, but we'll let bygones be bygones. No harm, no foul, yada, yada, yada. No big deal. Nothing to see
Oh,
here.
uh, was this okay? It hasn't happened yet. I was trying to think about the thing that happens to Nell. I kind of I was misremembering that a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not till later.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's coming up. Okay. So you actually just gave me another Back to the Future moment. It's like you didn't do the thing I told you not to do, right? Okay, my bad. That's Doc telling Marty to not bump into his parents. He's like, well, I kind of
Oh,
already
yeah,
did
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's that too.
And this
Similar
is,
reaction because Al's like, Sam, you didn't. I
yes,
just totally
yes,
said it too. I thought it was pretty funny.
yes, yeah. Um, but yeah, and then we find out that Billy Joe is, sorry, there's too many names. Billy Joe
Yeah.
is the sheriff's son. Um, And he says, well, I'll talk to him about it. And because Sam says, I don't, it's not going to end here. And the sheriff says, well, that's really up to you, isn't it? And that's kind of sort of a threat, isn't it?
Yes,
So yeah,
100%. Absolutely. Like I mean, things could be good if you stay in line. That's what that tells me. Like if
yes.
like the law, right? Like it's segregation laws, and so it's like, well, Jesse, that's entirely up to you. If you want to keep playing stupid games, you get stupid prizes. Like I feel that's basically what the sheriff's trying to tell him.
Yeah. And then right after they talk, Sam, not even paying attention, unwittingly drinks from the white water fountain. Not, I don't think he did it intentionally.
No, no, it's
Yeah.
Alabama and it's hot. It's
Yes.
August. It's August 8th, maybe 9th at this point in Alabama. He was hot. He saw the fountain. Remember, uh, Sam, I don't remember what year Sam was born, but he was a baby. He was a baby in 1955, if he was already born. I think he might have
I believe so.
maybe
Well, doesn't he
maybe
have
early
to be alive?
50s.
Isn't that how that works?
That's correct. But he's still a baby. So he's
Yeah.
when he grew up, he probably didn't see much of that at all. Like in Elks Ridge, Elks in Indiana, Elks Ridge. I kind of forget it. We'll learn it.
Okay.
If we haven't learned it yet, we will learn it. Um, but yes, Sam's that's just a water fountain to him. Even if he was exposed to one at an early age, it's been decades, and so he's not going to remember. And also, Sam doesn't give a shit. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
that's the other thing.
Yes.
So there's
Um,
there's a lot of privilege protecting him there. I mean,
yes.
protecting is probably not the right word, but Sam's just like his heart's in the right place right now,
Right,
but
right, right, right.
not
Uh,
remembering it's 55. Yeah.
and and Toad and Billy Joe see him drinking out of this water fountain, which will come into play later. Um, and then we go back
Yeah.
to Miss Melanie's, and they're under the sink, and then the pipe explodes. They kind of have a good laugh about it, and so they need to go get a new pipe, and I think Sam's trying to prevent her from driving. Like Sam didn't want to take her because he didn't want to go over those train tracks that we're supposed to avoid. And then she was said she'll just drive herself. Then Sam's trying to stop her. But then we have a scene with where he's making tea for Miss Melanie, and he serves it, and he sets a spot for himself at the table. Um, and Miss Melanie asks him, what are you doing? And he says, well, you invited me to have tea. And she says, I don't
He's
know.
usually like he's usually in the kitchen, like like he
Yeah,
would
you
sit in the
you
kitchen.
drink your
Yeah.
tea in the kitchen, I drink my tea here. That's just the way it's always been. And he says, "Well, what if we just sat at the table by together?" And she says, "Well, we can't because you're a black man and I'm a white woman. We can't sit at the same table. It's just the way it is. There's nothing I can do about it." And
Yeah.
so
She
and
might
that
have even
started
used the
plants the
term.
seeds.
Yeah, she might have like even used the term colored at this point too, like to talk
Yeah,
about like the whole segregation thing. But like I think this would have been a good point for Sam to be like, we're also like just in your house, like who's gonna know, But uh, I do like the writing. I think I want to backtrack just a little bit. The pipes
sure.
breaking.
Oh yeah.
So there's a mention that Al could not find, or not Al, but Ziggy could not find anything on Jesse Tyler, because blacks in general in that around that time, for I don't know how long, just no records are really kept, and um uh just the signs of the time, right? And so it made me wonder, was Jesse also in that car? Because the pipes would have broken anyway. It had already been leaking because Sam's like, oh, because Nell was there to pick her grandfather up. And then Miss Melody was like, you do it tomorrow, Clayton coming back for supper.
Well, but we find out later that Al does find records on Jesse.
Okay.
Um, when he's in prison, Al says, "Oh, we did find some information about Jesse Tyler," and this is actually one of my questions to you. Al says he's still alive in our time, and he's 105 years old. So, which would put him like if we're following everything, because he's supposed to be like 70 in
Uh,
1955.
so Scott Bakula in an interview on the Pat Sajak show, which thank you, Al's Place, for having that clip. Uh, Scott tells Pat that he leaped into a 70-year-old black man. So
Okay.
I don't know if he was just kind of like winging the age, but that's what Scott Bakula said in an interview, a 70-year-old black man.
Okay, so he's 105 in present day to what it was, but I thought that the show itself, because Al's wearing all this futuristic stuff,
Oh,
takes
right.
place past 1989.
Yeah, I always thought, and this is something where we're gonna need to get fact checked. I'm sure, we'll have listeners reach out after hearing this question, but I always thought that it was like supposed to be late 90s because I thought it was supposed to be like near future. And so if you're doing the math, if he's 70 in 1955, 35 years later puts you at 1990
Yeah. So, which is when the show is actually
airing. So I think that might be a writing mistake. So
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
just I was
I
curious
don't
about that.
right because I believe it's supposed to be like near future, not present time.
Right, because we've seen
And for
the
some
futuristic
reason,
car and the yeah, and
yeah, for some
Al's
reason, like
clothing.
1999 sticks in my head, but that's something that we're gonna ask our own Ziggy about that. So I'm sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Um
okay. That part I remembered, but initially Sam said that there were no records. But yeah, eventually they found something, but it wasn't like really anything that could have helped Sam during this time. And so yeah, I was wondering. So did Jesse also die because they may not have cared to even record any of that information. It would have just been information about Miss Melanie in the crash because Jesse usually drives her, right?
so did the records that Al finds change when just Nell
because
drove?
because they are both alive now, or at least they both survived. Did not get into that crash because I was just wondering. Yeah, the pipes they were. I guess it was always going to break, and they were probably going to be going together. So I was trying to see if like Sam kind of messed up anything because remember, like I mentioned before, sometimes Sam like his heart's in the right place, and he might be so quick to react to like something in that moment, which is going to affect something in the leap. That happened here. So because of his actions, um, it it it's it affected Nell. That never would have happened to Nell. If Jesse
Right,
never
yeah.
sat down at that diner, Billy, Joe, and Toad never would have gone out to try to go
Okay.
scare him and inadvertently running her off the road.
True. Okay. Yeah, that's true.
Which again, strong writing episode from Deborah Pratt because she set that up. You know,
Yes.
when Sam was in the car with Nell, he talks about her driving fast and she's, worried that her dad might find out that she drives faster than 35 miles per hour.
Yes,
So
yes.
very well set up.
But I will say they talking about that crash, they like run right in front of her and then they're like, "Oh, they drive horribly." And I'm like, "Well, no, you were trying to crash into them like, she and then they just leave her and
Yeah. I don't know what their plan was. Like I kind of do believe them that they were just gonna scare them and I think it's because she was driving a little fast. And so like when they come out, her reaction is to yank on that steering wheel, running her off the road. If she was maybe going at a slower speed, maybe they would have just collided,
d-
I'm not sure. But I
don't
do
make
think speed
excuses
was a
for the
factor.
races.
That's fair. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for
Don't
keeping
yeah.
me honest there.
Yeah.
In,
Um
in the purpose of reviewing a podcast. That's yeah.
yeah. Um Yeah. So now Sam has to take Miss Melanie to get this pipe because she wanted to drive herself and he doesn't want her to go. And then they find the car with Nell. And then uh there's a scene where they Sam runs down, saves her, and then Sam is heading towards the White Hospital because it's the closest hospital. Miss Melanie is concerned because they're not going to take her. And then they pull up, and this hospital is not going to take her. Especially the nurse there. Not a fan. Not a fan of black people coming to the white hospital. Um,
I don't
but
even think it's that. I think it's just them being black. I think that's all it is. It's not even like the hospital rules and whatever
fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
because of what she does
Uh,
later.
yeah. Yes. Yes. Very true. Um, but Miss Melanie uses her status as a former governor's wife and gets Nell admitted in the hospital, which was great moment in the episode. And yeah.
Did you expect that? Did you see that coming?
Um I no, I didn't. I don't know why. I probably should have, but no, I didn't. I thought they were gonna turn her away. I don't know.
I mean, you also just, like you're watching it for the first time. It's very common to like just not try to be so critical and just like, absorb it, on your first time watch, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, because it's like, I mean, both you and I come from the Cobra Kai world, and like people, have like, oh, how come you didn't see that coming? I was like, man, sometimes when I'm watching like the screeners for the very first time, I'm just absorbing it. I'm not trying to like think what's gonna happen next or whatever just yet.
that's exactly how I watch. Definitely, yes, yeah. But the first time,
Yeah,
definitely, yes. So,
right.
um,
So
but
great
I
moment
like.
there. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I like that scene a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So the nurse calls a cop, the sheriff who shows up, and I thought this part was so funny because she was like, "That's him right there." Well, what did you say when you called the sheriff? You didn't say like there's some crazy man over here that brought a black girl, right? You probably said like, Jesse or that man that was in the diner. You know what I mean? Like Jesse's the only black man out there. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yes.
I
Very
thought that
true.
was kind of
Yeah.
funny though.
Yes.
There he is, Sheriff. Just what a Karen. There you go. That's the first
Very
early
much so.
Karen. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's
Nurse
crazy.
Karen.
Like he gets arrested, but like he didn't go in the hospital. He's not the patient per se for the hospital. So like, I don't know. Like, what exactly did he do wrong? He didn't go inside. Miss
Well,
Melanie made sure of that.
yeah, I think there's that, the fact that he was, in her eyes he was aggressive, like, oh, like, why aren't you guys getting a gurney
Okay.
like I just asked for, that kind of thing. But then she's looking out the window and sees him talking to himself, because there's also a line there. She says he's crazy as a loon.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So they're just
Yeah.
like, mental illness shaming and race
Yes.
shaming and all this stuff. Yeah.
Um, and then the sheriff shows up and somehow Sam convinces him to make a very weird deal because he needs Miss Melanie not to cross those train tracks. So he tells the sheriff, "Okay, you can arrest me," which I don't know if he really had much of a say at that point, as long as Miss Melanie doesn't leave here for a half hour. And so then the sheriff puts this responsibility on that nurse who does a very poor job and just Miss, tell it. Miss
I think
Melanie comes out. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think that like the sheriff at this point was just like, okay, well, he's not resisting arrest, whatever. I'll just go along with
Right.
it. I'm sure that's what he was thinking. Yeah, because
Yeah,
because he was
definitely.
like, you got that, Ethel? Like he just like, okay, did you okay? Like, are we good? You gotta do exactly what he says, right? Okay, good, we're kosher. Like I that was the vibe I was getting from him at that point.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's true. Um, and then Miss Melanie is finds out that Jesse was arrested. Is very upset about this, and and the nurse tries to tell her that you're not supposed to leave for a half hour, and she's like, you can't tell me what to do, and so she starts to take off, and Al's there, and then that's where we get the scene where Al is riding with her in the car, and
Just real quick though, I love the
yeah,
sequence. Okay, so she backs up into that vehicle. Did
yes,
you heard
yeah,
the trash can? I don't think we
yes.
see it, but it's good Foley work where you're like, oh, she just backed into it and knocked something over. You could hear it in the
And
sound.
she even says like, "Oh, I haven't driven in a while." Okay, yeah. And then she's like,
Uh,
"Okay, what are these buttons here? Oh, it might take us a while, but we're gonna get there." And I do like this is another part where you get more of a sense of her and Jesse's relationship that she cares enough about Jesse that she's gonna make sure nothing bad happens to him, which I did
yeah.
like. So,
And
um,
in this episode, this actually very moment, as like she's driving off and Al's trying to stop her, like that sequence is like burned into my head, where he's like, don't, he's got both hands up in front of the car, and then she drives right through him, and he just like exasperated, he just kind of gives up. He's like, damn, like I couldn't stop her. Because it will eventually, that part right there will eventually be used in the intros.
yeah, I did see
Ooh, did you,
some.
has it already been included?
I think so. I think like because they redid episode 1 and 2 into separate things. I think they put like the newer intro into that, and I think that's where I saw that before
Ah,
because I've definitely seen that before.
yeah. Okay.
Um, um, yeah, but I did like the whole scene where Al is trying to get her to stop, and one of the few comedic moments in this episode, which this episode didn't really call for a lot of comedy, but
Not
Al's
a
yelling
lot,
at her.
but there's just little bits of levity, sprinkled out.
Yes,
And they usually come from Miss Melody.
yes, yes. And so he's, yelling at her, trying to get her to stop because the train's coming. She's gonna go over those train tracks. And Al yells and she hears him, but she thinks it's her deceased husband. And I like the part where what does he say? He says, "Stop, God damn it."
But yeah, it was like, yeah, because he's trying to get her to go to the cemetery. Like, if you just turn to the cemetery, you'll avoid going over the
Oh,
tracks.
pull off into the cemetery, damn it. And then Miss Maloney's like, "Charles, you didn't have to swear at me."
Right. Yeah. 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 She thanks the voice as like her dead husband. And yeah, and I like that because that's kind of a callback to like Jesse earlier, Sam as Jesse, where he's like, well, uh, uh damn it, like I bumped my
Yeah,
head, or yeah, she's like, Jesse, don't you ever use that language with me. And he's like, sorry,
yes,
ma'am. Yeah.
yes. Um, and then we we're in jail and Sam's there talking to Al and we find out that off screen Miss Melanie persuaded the sheriff to drop the charges and the sheriff opens up is letting him out of the cell and but Al's still talking and then we find out that we're actually 4 months away from the Montgomery bus boycotts and then Miss Moni's waiting outside for Sam, Jesse, and uh you know, we Miss Moni kind of just starts acting like, well, we're just gonna go back to we're gonna forget all the stuff that happened the past couple days. We're just gonna go back to the way it was, and we're kind of back at the beginning of kind of where we are at the episode where he says, "Okay, go ahead," or she tells, sorry, Sam, "Go ahead, get my sandwich from Miss Patty's," and 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 Sam has a talk with her. He's saying, you could change, you could affect change. Starts to tell her, I believe, you're a person of importance, and change starts with with just a little step, uh, per se. And
Yep.
so then Sam goes in the diner and goes, and there's Miss Patty again, and so she says, "Oh, are you just here to pick up Ms. Melanie's sandwich?" And then Ms. Melanie comes in, and I guess we find out that what Sam needed to do to leap is to turn Ms. Melanie into an ally, I guess. Um,
I suppose so. And also, like, I'm having a hard time placing, like, was this right after Sam gets released, or did you think there was a little bit of time in between Sam getting released and to that moment?
oh, I kind of thought it was right after he got released, but
I thought so too, because so basically the sheriff lets Sam out and then goes to have lunch with his son.
yeah, 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 that does happen. Yeah, because he sits down and was it Billy or Toad was stands up and is about ready to, attack.
It was probably his son.
Yeah.
Like Toad was the one that was a little bit more apprehensive because they talked about like I kind of forget the dialogue, but they were talking about like something that happened to somebody else that had to move or something. And even when like Billy Joe was saying like, "Oh, let's go do something," basically, and Toad was like, "Well, I'm not killing anybody," like it. So yeah, I felt like Toad was like, the to take a Karate Kid, reference here. I think that was the Bobby Brown, of that group.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
And he's
definitely.
the one that quote unquote had a conscience, but was still quote unquote a bad guy. But yeah, you mentioned like the what was the event that you just referenced? That's 4 months from that day in this jail
The
cell
Montgomery boys
bus.
Montgomery bus boycotts. I cannot read. Sorry.
Yeah,
With um uh
Rosa Parks.
yeah, thank you. Sorry. Couldn't remember the name. And Martin Luther King does get it. It's Rosa Parks that with the events that begins it because believe she was sitting in like the back of the bus is where black people are supposed to sit. The white or the front is when the white people are supposed to sit. There was like a middle section that if that both could sit at, but if white people are coming on board, then the black people have to get up and stand. And I believe she
Surrender
was
their seat. Yeah.
sitting in one of the middle sections, and a white person asked her to move, and she refused to move, and I believe that's what started that. So yeah, I
Yeah,
have that
it's
correct.
funny, not funny, haha, but Nell, she mentions that too, like, oh, no more sitting back in the bus, because she was just really amped up at the idea of her grandfather, sticking it to the white man, like yeah, kind of
Yes.
that thing there. So I kind of loved her energy. Um, yeah, this is one of those instances where, like, and we talked about it in the previous episode where I kind of misremembered that I always thought that every episode gave us like a look into like like how did Sam's quote unquote mission affect what's to come. So we don't get like a wrap up from Ziggy like we will in later episodes here. This would have been great, like, hey,
Yes.
Nell survived. Nell goes on to do this that will affect this. Reverend Willis Tyler, Miss Melanie, after sitting down with you, she goes on to uh, go to Congress, whatever, to see the impact of Sam Sleep. But even despite not having that, the leap in itself was impactful, and like I think all of that on paper, like I thought made for like a really good wrap up still. But yeah, this would have been nice to
Um,
hear what happened to the Tylers.
yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with that. I was that was my head. I was wondering, is Jesse, does he continue being a civil rights activist of sorts, or anything like that. Honestly, this episode could have been a 2-hour episode. There was so much going on here. Like we talked about so much stuff, and I tried to make sure we covered everything because there was a lot going on, just even
Yeah,
little things here and there.
very
So
meaty episode,
yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Um, so I was wondering. I mean, I guess we found out that Jesse lives to 105, but that's really all we know. So yeah,
right?
yeah.
Did you recognize any of the locations, like specifically out in public on the streets?
Oh no, I did not. Was this
The clock
was
tower,
this from?
City Hall.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, was this on the Universal backlot?
It
Okay,
was. It was.
okay.
If you look carefully at one of the sequences, you actually might see Biff walking across the street to go see Lorraine's new dress. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just wonder, like, do they have like different sets sitting there? Like, bring on the racist version of the backlot, please. Like, bring. I don't.
Well, I will say this. I would parts of me would have been like, oh, that looks vaguely familiar, but I mean, I really got it from Al's place that like confirmed it. That
Okay.
yes, like that. Also, Clock Tower, I believe, is the jail or the City Hall or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, when
Yeah,
you
but
film stuff at certain angles, yeah, sometimes it's hard.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like it makes it look a little bit different because like we're so used to like a specific vantage point because of Back to the Future. And then if
Yes.
you just film in a different spot for a different show, it looks like a different town. But that is Hill Valley Square.
Was there a comment in this episode? Do you remember, did someone make the comment about like uncivilized people in California? Did
Yes,
that happen?
Miss Melody did. She
Okay,
yeah, she
and
dropped
all I
that.
kept thinking was about, you don't even know what's going on in California this time. A scientist is about to come up with the concept
Yeah,
of time travel, Miss Melanie. They're not
right.
uncivilized. What are you talking about? Okay.
Yeah,
I wasn't sure if
yeah.
that was in here or something else that I saw recently. So,
I
okay.
thought about that, but yeah, I didn't write that down. But yes,
Okay.
she did make that comment. But yeah, it just some of the things that she said, talking about like Miss Patty's like egg salad and stuff. And I didn't remember this being like a thing from this episode, but like egg salad, it always makes me think of like Big Top Pee-wee.
Oh, okay.
The egg
Yes.
salad there, yeah, that whole scene. But hey, I don't mind a little egg salad. Anything
I
else you
like
want to
Excel.
talk about before we get into our little game?
No. Are we gonna talk about the next sleep?
Yes. Okay, so yes, describe to me what you remember about the teaser.
Um, so he's racing cars under a bridge, and he does a mirror reveal, and he's a teenager with some acne.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a little. I need to do a double check. This doesn't give anything away, but I believe that reflection. Did you ever watch uh Ernest Goes to Camp? Is that what it was called, or did it?
I've watched all the Ernest movies, Peter,
It was the one
but I
that
don't
seemed
remember
the
them so well.
I don't know if it goes to camp, but there's one where he's like a camp counselor, and there's a bunch of like kids that are like misfits or whatever, and then there's that song that he sings. No, there's the uh, you, me and you and me. It's also in that movie. Yeah,
Okay.
so happy together. So
Yes.
it's a I'm forget. I don't think
Do
it's called
do do do
Ernest
do.
Goes to Camp. It might be, but it's been so long. But I believe if it's the same actor, I believe he was one of the misfit kids.
Okay.
In in
I
in
mean,
that
there is a
Ernest.
movie called Ernest Goes to Camp.
It's
That's
probably
definitely a
that
movie.
one that yeah, I need to
Okay.
see if it's that kid. So I kind of remember if it's this episode, I believe we have a cameo from a 90210 act a person.
Oh,
I don't want to tip my hand, boy or girl, but somebody from 90210 I believe is in
I'm
this
so
episode.
excited.
Yeah,
Oh,
and I believe there is a kiss with history with somebody famous. I believe,
oh,
are both in this episode. I might be mixing it. I might be telling you two different episodes, but I'm almost
okay,
certain about the 90210. Gosh,
okay. Because I
but
was gonna
hey,
say
I
that
was
after this, the teaser, I looked at, I was like, okay, yeah. I don't know.
well, I was also pretty certain about like the right hand of God being like a totally other episode too. So that's
True,
kind of the
yes.
fun, it's fun to hear you kind of like, oh, what's going on here. But for me to see if I even remember correctly what's in this episode. But yeah,
Oh,
because I believe there's another episode that's kind of similar, but I do believe this is the one with somebody from Now 210, like in a small role.
one last thing I just wanted to say about this episode. We had 6 or 7 mirror reveals just in case someone was tuning in for the first time and we forgot that he's being a black man, I guess. But it was just I guess that's why that was there, but I'm wondering if we're ever
That's
going to
it.
see that many mirror
No,
reveals ever again.
Um, maybe not as many as this one. I do feel there's been episodes where you see like the reflection like a few times, but the way you mentioned that, like it does almost kind of seem like, hey, remember he is black,
Yes.
like so I don't think they were trying to like hammer anything, but you do make a good point. Like if you happen to just be flipping through the channels, like this might be a good episode to tune into because look, you see this reflection? He's not a regular white character. Like he leaped into a black man. This one might be good for you to watch, maybe learn a little something. But speaking of learning something, I think, to kind of like uh this is something that I thought about but forgot to mention when we were talking about Sam's use of the N-word. Like I think like in terms of like the writing, I do believe like I was also like you shocked to hear not just like Sam say it, but like Scott Bakula as Sam say it. I was just like, oh, like
Yes.
I don't remember when like that went away from media, but I do think like it was used like for the purpose of like educating people. Like, this word is not okay. So like Sam was doing it, right? Like when I said, sometimes to educate somebody like I'm paraphrasing myself now, but basically, sometimes you gotta use their language, and so yeah, I think for the writing for the viewers, it was also used maybe for a little, not necessarily shock value, but definitely to educate. Okay, this term we do not use. So, uh, okay, so the games, again, I will give a little explanation to these, each of these topics. Now, one thing I have not yet mentioned, Mikey, we have two more episodes of season one left.
Oh my. That's
Yeah.
I'm excited just because the numbering is off for some people or whatever. So I'm excited to go to season 2 and that's just for that reason. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a few episodes. I was just looking at the episode guide, and there's a few titles that popped up. I'm like, oh, I remember that one. Okay, yeah, can't wait to get to that one. So there's a few that I'm looking forward to for sure. All right, so here we go. The howdy doody moment. This is something that gives you a sense of the era.
Um I had signs that directed white people certain ways and black people certain way. There was yeah, I'll just say that. White
That might
people
come up again. Yep,
segregation. Yeah,
there you
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Words are tough, and also like we are not we were never really exposed to this stuff. So like we're coming
Exactly.
from a place of like naivete, and we're what we learned is from shows and film. Like I had a friend that used to host a podcast. I don't know if it's still around, but it's like somebody I've collaborated with like several years ago. But it was like it used to be called Things I Learned from Movies or something like that. Like and so yeah, like a lot of us, our generation grew up on television and movies, and that's kind of how we got like quote unquote information right before the internet and stuff like that. So
Definitely.
for me, it was the fashion. Like immediately, you kind of see what people are wearing, but also like the diner, like it kind of screams like
1950s.
50s, 60s even.
Yes.
Um, the area code moment when Sam says something that doesn't make sense for his time.
So I had when Sam, I believe this is when he got out of jail, he's talking to Miss Melanie about how I believe it was to her. He says soon blacks and whites will go to the same school. Was it? Do I have that right? I'm
I
sorry,
I
I don't
be,
have it.
I bel I feel like it was earlier,
Okay.
but I don't remember when. You could be right. No, I feel like it was earlier because that's like almost wrapping up, and that at that point, Miss Melanie has already kind of like flipped, and so like I think
Yeah.
this was like the lemonade sequence or something.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
I think it was the same conversation when he talked about like the cross burning and I think at least the way I read it on her reaction, I don't think she knew about that until he mentions it.
Okay.
The fact that yeah, somebody burned a cross on his lawn. But that's also what I have is that Sam mentioned the word blacks because we
Yes.
or will be called that or something like that. Yes, that's what I had
It
too.
was yeah, it was when it was when they were talking about the tea and how they
Ah,
that's when it was. Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Uh, and when was Sam seen talking to himself? I have three examples.
Yeah, I just had when he was um in the kitchen making when he was cooking. Yeah.
Hi, his son Willis,
Yeah.
catches some. Yeah, I
Yes.
think out loud. It helps me cook better, or something like that. The
Yeah.
nurse called the cops,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
or the sheriff rather, and then the sheriff again in the jail cell. When Sam
Oh
walks out, he's
yeah.
like, "I'll see you later, Al," or "I'll talk to you later, Al," or whatever. The sheriff's like looking around, like, "What the
He's
hell?"
looking in
And
there.
then,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and then Al starts to sing like a song. I don't know the title of it, but Al is singing.
He sings "We
Um,
Shall Overcome."
okay, is that
That's a
a
song, yeah.
very known?
It's like a gospel-ish song,
Ah,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, got it. Gospel. It's gospel. Okay.
Yes.
Just like Nell, she was singing like a gospel song on the way to like a choir something
You
or
yeah, you can't hurry God. Yeah. That was her
okay.
song. Yeah.
Um, well, was there a needle drop you liked? We didn't hear any music, but you just named two songs that sounds
Yeah,
like
it was
you
just them
are
two
more
singing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, talking about that. Yeah.
okay. Uh,
Um,
back in my day, this is something that is obsolete now, and you already mentioned it. I wrote the whites only water fountain. I have never seen one.
yes. I mean, so here's what
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about. So this actually kind of goes into the next, making me do my homework too. Um, there was a sign when Sam is complaining to the sheriff. Um, there's a sign. I knew about different water fountains and different bathrooms, different schools. I did not know there was a sign that said whites enter in the front, coloreds you have to enter in the rear. I did not know that we were using different entrances. I didn't know that at all. I don't know why.
That I this is gonna sound weird, but that sounds familiar. I think I knew that. Um, yeah, the different entrances and exits. Like when you were talking about how, like the Rosa Parks and the bus stuff, I was also wondering. I was thinking like, how come? I I I was wondering like, did at some point did they ever segregate like buses? Was there ever like a whites only bus and a blacks only bus? Was it always like, nope, just one end and the other?
Um, that I don't know, but along of making me do my homework again, I did look up that whole bus ride thing, and what I thought found interesting was so if you were black, you had to get on the bus, you paid in the front, then you had to get back off the bus and go in through the back door of the bus. You weren't allowed to walk to the back. You had to get back off and then walk to the back, and a lot of times the drivers would just drive away and just
Wow.
leave black people stranded. Yeah. Insane. Is it
Ugh.
like what a like yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're flabbergasted because it's just like, what?
Yeah.
Again, we were not privy to any of that growing up. So, um, just the stuff that, we learned and, the little bit in school, if the teachers were
Yeah, we definitely like covered segregation in US history, but it wasn't like
super detailed,
it,
right? Like it's just kind of like the
it,
basics.
it was a 140-minute period class, and that was it. Like I don't think
Yeah.
yeah.
The making me do homework, I already kind of talked about it. It was basically looking up like censorship of the N-word, which there's like no really quite official. It's just like, yeah, over time people have obviously used it less and less in the writing. The moment of the episode for you.
It has to be the Miss Melanie coming in and inviting Jesse to sit with him at the lunch with her at the lunch counter at the end. So yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Same. I put the end of it, and I do like the shot of them as well. You can see the reflection at one
Yes.
point. Yeah. Uh, let's see here. And the MVP of the episode for you,
It's Miss Melanie. It's Susan French. Is that correct?
Susan French.
Yep.
She's great. We both spoke very highly about her in this episode. I'm gonna do a sharp turn. Maybe it's not
Oh.
even quite a sharp turn. I'm gonna do something a little outside the box here. MVP for the episode, character wise, I'm gonna give it to Al for saving Miss Melanie.
Ah. Okay,
Right? Well,
good deal.
if she didn't hear Charles, she would have got smushed by the choo-choo.
Yes, yes, she would
Because
have.
Sam was in jail
Yeah,
or
yes, yes, yes.
had just gotten arrested. So that's who I give it to for saving her. If he did save her, it doesn't go on for the end to happen. Obviously, it would have been something completely different. All right, this date in history.
So there really wasn't anything that happened this day, so let's talk about movies and TV. How about that?
All right,
And and music. So the number one movie was Mr. Roberts, which I have not seen.
I've
I
never
think
heard
it's
of
a
that one.
musical with it has Henry Fonda and James Cagney and Jack Lemmon, but
I know all
I'm
those
not
three
familiar.
guys. Yeah,
Yep, I knew them, but I
sure.
don't know who they are.
I'll look into
Um,
it. If it was number one, I'll look into that. I love period movies. Oh, not period movies. I love classics. Especially I was trying to get the kids because we were watching a new movie that we discovered that came out in 2020 called Godmothered on Disney. Jillian
okay, I
Bell
never
and
heard of it.
Isla Fisher. Cute Disney movie about a fairy godmother who wants to be a fairy godmother and has like one chance to like write somebody's happily ever after, except for the 10-year-old she goes to seek out is now like 45 years old. It has like a single mother. Cute movie, cute family movie, good Christmas movie. But there's a sequence where they sing. I don't know the exact title of it, but it's from The Sound of Music, where it says like, these are just a few of my favorite things.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's like a kind of a musical number in that film. And so I told the littles, I was like, we should watch The Sound of Music because I have never seen The Sound of Music and I kind of wanted to
Oh,
watch it with them, but they didn't seem too interested. So I'm like, it's like a 3 hour movie. I don't know if I
it
might be able to watch it on myself.
we watched it in school. It was quite long. Yeah, not like a yeah. I
Is
get
it
it.
worth the watch? It's a classic. I love Julie Andrews. I love musicals. I love Mary Poppins, but I never saw The Sound of Music.
It's worth watching once. I mean,
Okay, love
yeah,
changing. Okay, all
sure.
right. What's that number one song?
So before that, I actually just I found a site that actually has TV listings for past days. So I found out what was on TV in August 8th, 1955. So I just thought I'd bring it up.
Okay.
And it's two shows that I never heard of. One is the Pee Wee King Show. Don't know who Pee Wee King is, but he had a
Yeah.
variety show. And there was a show called Those Whiting Girls, which I just brought up because it's Those Whiting Girls. Anyways, the number one song um, was "Rock Around the Clock" by Billy Haley and his Comets.
I know
Comets.
that song. Yep.
Yeah, I
One,
actually
two,
sang
three
it
o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. Five. Yeah.
for
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I we did a performance of it in elementary school for some reason. So yeah,
Ah,
definitely. Yeah.
Predicate 2, right?
Is that in Karate Kid too?
Right. Isn't that when Daniel dances with Kumiko before he gets robbed by Chosen? Or or
Uh,
am I mistaken? I could well, now you got me second
mm,
guessing here. Well, I do believe it's in Superman 3 when Clark goes back to Smallville for his high school reunion.
is that
I'm
what
almost
it's in?
certain that is
Okay.
playing. Yeah, I'm almost certain that one is playing. Yeah.
By the way, you brought your phone, and I thought you were gonna text your very good friend Yuji. Oh, come on.
No, no,
Just
no,
gonna text him. I
no
was like, oh,
connection.
are we
Yeah.
gonna wait for a text to come back? Okay, that'll be fun.
No connections in this one. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's everything for this episode. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, okay. So we already talked about that teaser going into it. So yeah, we hope to do another episode in the next 2 weeks. We've been doing a pretty good job of staying on that schedule. So, it's at least like every other weekend is when been releasing this. So appreciate you guys supporting us through these episodes. Shout outs to Fandom Entanglement for having us join in on the 12
Slides of
days of
Christmas.
slides, or is
Hmm.
it 12 slides of Christmas? Okay. All right. Woo, yeah.
Please just trust
It
me.
was a lot of fun and
Uh-huh.
one episode a day leading up to Christmas. So check that out. We are also I believe episode 9. I think we're episode 9. I
Mm,
think we're just like a couple episodes after like Albie and Christopher, which was kind of cool.
yeah.
So
I can
yeah,
barely
you
talk
guys.
that episode, but it was fun.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about
Yeah.
that. And I forgot about that. Then when I watched it, and then you're like, that I was like, oh no, that's right. He couldn't speak. But then your
Yeah.
voice did get better throughout the
Yeah.
episode.
We
So,
were getting there.
so check us out there if you want to hear us talk about season's greetings. Yeah, on
Mhm.
sliders there. And yeah, so until then, we will catch you guys on, wait, socials. Quantum Leap Podcast on social
X,
media. Yeah,
Twitter,
Quantum Leap
Instagram.
Podcast. It's a
Yeah.
branding, so you just
Just
type that
search it. You'll
in.
find us.
We're gonna
Yeah.
populate. Again, if you guys been following Albie, Christopher DeFilippis, and the old crew, it's the same accounts. I just my eyes are on it a little bit more frequent than theirs is now. So same socials. So all right. So thank you guys for tuning into this episode, and we'll catch you guys on the next sleep.